On this edition of Let's Talk Cincy.
I'm still hopeful that Connie Phillips will do the right thing and dismiss this, and I can get on with my life. And I'm waiting.
The case of Elwood Jones and how his Hyde Park church is helping him fight to clear his name.
From day one, I wanted to be a part of his life, and he has certainly become a part of our life because we believe in him. We believe what he has said.
From WLWT, this is the Emmy Award-winning show Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Curtis Fuller, and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. Today, I want to revisit the case of Elwood Jones. He spent nearly 30 years on death row. He was released from prison 3 years ago, but his fight to clear his name continues, and he's getting some support now from members of his Hyde Park church.
What Elwood Jones says he is trying to do is regain his life after spending nearly 30 years on death row for a murder he has always maintained he did not commit. In 1996, Jones was convicted of murdering Rhoda Nathan inside a Blue Ash Hotel. In 2022, Judge Wendy Cross overturned his conviction, maintaining the state withheld evidence. Jones was released from jail and granted a new trial. Attorneys for Jones also asked the court to exclude any unavailable witness testimony from the first trial if the case is retried. That includes a key witness, Officer Michael Bray, who has since died. On August 29th of this year, the appeals court sided with Jones and ruled no prior testimony from any witness can be used in a retrial.
This is huge because they certified without this evidence, they cannot successfully prosecute the case. As it stands right now, they don't have that evidence anymore.
I think about the past 30 years, and I asked you this before, how have you just managed to sustain your faith in the midst of the death penalty?
It's a lot to think about when you face with that, but I'm thankful for Judge Wendy Cross, her decision to look at the evidence and everything, and regardless of the politics, do the right thing and grant me a new trial that in most cases they don't want to because they don't know, and I get that. But you was taking my life for something I didn't do. I feel sorry for the family, but I'm not that person. So we need to look at life and people on trial in a different perspective. Are we having the right person? And if we're not, just don't put politics involved. And that's all I asked. I'm not going to get into the difference, but my life was turned upside down and still turned upside down. I had nothing but what someone gave me. And it's kind of hard when you really think about it.
And you had said that you were facing some health challenges, and
I'm still facing them. Because where I was at, they don't give proper medical attention. And I went in as a healthy person. I'm coming out as an injured person. And I had more health problems than ever because whenever they transfer you or take you, You have to be hog-tied if they decide they want to take you out. And I have blockage in my legs. And also, I just discovered yesterday, I have eye injury. I don't know if it's a blood vessel or what. So I'm faced with more health issues than I went in at 41, 42 as a healthy person than I am today. I'm not saying that this is, people in general is a fault of it. I'm saying the system, what we have in place, we need to correct and make it that it's fair, and we're not using entities to make it better, worse for people to get out.
And I know you have said, not bitter, you're not bitter.
I'm not.
But at some point, you've had to ask yourself, why me?
I ask myself that every day. And I don't try to use the race card and all, but we still living in a system that has these people who operate it don't want to move forward and say, like, we're in a different day. We're in the 21st century. And that's sad that we still treat human beings as animals.
How long have you been pastor?
For here, we're in our 4th year, so not terribly long. And one of the things that I learned very early on in my ministry here is that we have a wonderful array of people, some who are seated here with us, who have been writing letters to persons on death row over a multi-year period. And I was reflecting on it because I was thinking about their ministry, which really is an extension of the ministry within Christian tradition. Much of the New Testament are letters written to encourage people in difficult circumstances. The Apostle Paul, others wrote letters as well to encourage people and build them up in faith. And so that's a long-standing tradition within Christian history, but also a long-standing tradition within our congregation. And so I'm very proud of that.
Were you familiar with his case?
I was not familiar with Elwood's case until I actually met him when he came to worship not long after our own arrival here. And so, but I am familiar with it from a couple of different angles with some other friends of ours who have been involved in the Innocence Project, and they filled me in with some details about the case over all these many years. And so we've become good friends and been in ministry together here, and it's been incredible.
I believe that, and you can tell me, but their initial outreach wasn't about guilt or innocence. It was about just caring for another human being.
Absolutely. So we live by a mission here that we strive to embody the hope and love of Jesus Christ for all through worship, service, and companionship. And so we remind ourselves of that every Sunday when I do the announcements. And being present for Elwood and many other persons who have been sent letters is companionship. And one of the hallmarks of, I think, our congregation that I'm most proud of is that we do relationship well here. And regardless of who you are, we're engaged in building and strengthening relationships with each other so that we can build up faith, but also build up community. And I think that makes a difference.
Have you gotten pushback
of your embrace of Elwood at all?
No, not at all. In fact, completely the opposite. Elwood is present in so many different ministries in the life of our church. And like I said, you know, our work is about developing companionship and community and relationship. And so, no, I've not experienced any pushback at all. A number of us have gone to a number of the legal proceedings. I've been to a couple myself, not able to attend all of them. But we do that because we want to be present with our brother in Christ.
High Park Community Methodist Church, I felt more comfortable in that environment, and I have gotten more from them. And the people I have met have been genuine. Several of them in there that Eileen, that when times are bad for me, and believe me, times have been real bad, Mr. Fuller, that I don't know which way I'm gonna turn, that they have been able to help me make them adjustments and see that it's a better day. And they have supported me. They have given me a ground to stand on, that the Lord is with you. All you have to do is continue to follow the path that you are.
For a while, we had what we called a justice ministry,
Justice ministry.
which we tried to differentiate doing justice from doing charity. So that's when we got involved with IJPC, the Intercommunity Justice and Peace Center, which is now called Ignite Peace. And we began to work with them, working against the death penalty. And part of that, we were sending cards at the holidays to all the people on death row. And our congregation took to that so much that we sent multiple cards, not just one, but multiple cards in multiple years. And Andrea Sloan sent a card to Elwood Jones. She didn't know him, she just sent him a card. And he responded. And we were amazed that somebody like actually responded to it. So the next year when we were doing it, I said, Andrea, here, take Elwood's name, because we had all the names, and she did. And then I met Elwood at the Ignite Peace benefit. And I was so excited to meet him. And he said,
that took place where?
That took place at the Centos Center. I think it was in 2022. And I said, I'm from the church that sends the cards. And he goes, oh, I want to go to that church. I said, well, that would be great. The next day, I got an email from Elwood Jones saying, what time are the services and what is the address?
And that speaks volumes that he responded.
Yes, yes. And so I probably have been with him the longest, and I get all the credit for having Elwood here. People are saying, Jan, oh, that's wonderful. I say, I didn't invite him. He invited himself. And he's been a part of our church ever since. And anytime there's a way to serve, he's there, usually an hour early. He serves in Over the Rhine at those things, and we've had some benefits here, and he's worked on those. But it's amazing to me to see the response of our congregation. It seems like Elwood is friends with everybody. And in the beginning, you know, he'd meet Bob, or he'd meet Andrea, or he'd meet Rachel, and I would, you know, introduce him. And the next Sunday, he would say, hello, Rachel. He always was very, close with the people that he met. And now, when I come into our welcome center that we gather before services, it's, hello, Elwood, hello, Elwood. Everyone is responding to Elwood. So he's just, you know, you've asked people, he's the kind of person, and I'm sure, Mr. Fuller, you understand this, when you meet him, he's just someone that you really respond to. He's a caring, warm individual. And you almost have to block out all the things that have happened to him.
Well, I tell you, when somebody comes into your life with the experiences and the life that somebody's led and what he's endured, it makes you question, well, what exactly do you do for other people? How do you share that? And I think from day one, Elwood has just been open and directly as honest as anybody can be, and willing to give of himself whatever he can give, as opposed to looking for something from someone else. I think we live in a culture that is emphasizing me first and everybody else later. Elwood demonstrates and walks the walk of just saying, it's not about me. Getting on with your life means sharing your life with others. And Elwood's open and free and honest about that all the time. Well, I think if it had not been for this church, I don't think would have had the opportunity to have this experience. And I think it's one thing to just come and pay witness, but it's another to actually see it lived in someone else's life who has clearly had burdens that none of us can even imagine. So I think it's just been a wonderful experience to see somebody else walk the walk and just pay witness to it and recognize that, you know, ultimately we're here to demonstrate and share love. If we don't, what are we doing here? And I think that's what Jesus' message is. Show the love that you have. Don't judge, just share.
How long have you been part of the outreach ministry that connected with Elwood?
Well, Jan introduced me to Elwood, and from day one, I wanted to be a part of his life. And he has certainly become a part of our life because we believe in him. We believe what he has said, that he is not guilty, and he would like to live a life of freedom. So we really want that to happen sooner than later. So we just hope Connie Pillage is listening to us and moving forward because we love him and we know he's innocent. And I've decided that I can't keep up with him now in all that he does for our church. And I thought I was pretty good at that, doing things. But he now asks me if I'm going to be a part of whatever he's doing next. So he's a great guy.
What does this say about his faith? And maybe you've probably had to say, what does this say about your own faith?
Well, it's always been important. My faith has always been important. And I'm just grateful for all the opportunities that this church has given me to do out in our neighborhood. And there's a lot of that goes on from here, from Found House to Meet to Wesley Chapel Mission Center, you name it, Hyde Park community does it.
Every time I've heard horrible things that have been said about him, I think you need to meet the man. He's the most humble man you've ever met. He's accepting. He's not out there to persecute you. And that's hard for anybody to believe that he wouldn't be. embittered, and he just isn't. That's not who I've known him to be. What people have been saying in our community is how much, what we've done for him, nothing compared to what he's done for us. It is such a blessing to be able to be connected to someone that is from a different world, has lived in a different world for 27 and a half years, and to still, it enriches my life so much to know Elwood and to get to serve next to him and to observe how he serves in our various ministries. It inspires me every single time. I'm honored to be in his presence and to be his friend.
He, of course, wants to be free, and we all are hoping that that will happen soon because it's gone on too long. Judge Cross ordered a new trial for him 2.5 years ago, and he's still not a free man. So we're hoping for that. But what Elwood really wants to work on for the rest of his life is to see that people are not wrongly sentenced, especially to death, because there's so much of that that happens. I think there have been 11 people, I may have my numbers wrong, that have been exonerated and removed from death row in Ohio alone. So Elwood sees this as a big problem, prosecutorial wrongdoing, and he would love to be part of doing something about that.
If they'd have brought me back in 2019, I'd have been able to see my mother and tell her that I would have been able to clear our name and she could rest if she didn't die. I'm here. And I would have told my grandparents, my grandmother, and my father, and my sisters, and my wife they could rest in peace. But I wasn't able. And my goal is today is to clear my family's name. Say you can now rest in peace. That is my goal. It ain't about money, and then it is they can rest that I have cleared our name. I may did things in the past, but I'm not a murderer. I never killed anyone.
Hamilton County Prosecutor Connie Pillitz has said she is familiar with his case and other death penalty cases in the appeals process, taking them case by case, and is dedicated to justice with integrity for the victims and defendants. That does it for the program. I'm Curtis Fuller. Have a good day and a better day tomorrow.